Hello everybody, my name is Dee and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today I'm going to do two quick reviews on two historical fiction books that I read recently. So first I'm going to be talking about The Whaler by Inez Thorn. The Whaler is a book from in German. It's from Germany and it was translated by Kate Northrup. So I wanted to make sure I got that name right because I always forget to mention who it's translated by. I don't think that's very good. So yes. So this book takes place in the mid 18th century, so around the 1740s, and takes place on the island of Sylt, and it's part of a trilogy. So this is the first book in a trilogy. I absolutely adored this book. This book mainly is a romance. It does give you a glimpse of island life during that time and how hard it was, the hardships that people faced, and the really tough life that they led. You know, always being exposed to the elements, not having very good materials to build their houses, and, you know, basically living off of whatever fishing was available. You know, island life could be beautiful, and island life could also be very hard and treacherous. So it did give you a glimpse of that, but mainly this book is a romance. It follows the character of Marin. And Marin in the beginning of this book is very young. She is 16, I believe. And she is very much in love with one of the local boys. She, you know, really wants to marry him, wants nothing to do with anyone else. Even though he's very poor, she feels like love can conquer all. Marin in the beginning of this book is very immature, even for her age, I think. And her parents are approached by a local baron, a very rich man who kind of oversees things on the island, and he wants to marry Marin as well, but she'll have nothing to do with him. She wants to marry this local boy, Vijan, I think is his name. I can't remember quite what his name was. But so, I mean, this book is, you know, very much a love story. There is a love triangle. I know that's not for everyone. So if you're really against that, I wouldn't recommend this book. But I fully enjoyed it. I thought it was such an easy, fast read. We wound up reading it in like just a few days. I did it as a buddy read with Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventures, Candace from Beacon Hill Books, and Cheryl from CR Flames Fan. And it was just so easy to read. It was very fast. The writing was very simple. I thought the translation was wonderful. I thought the writing was very easy to get through. But the writing was very simple. And by that, I mean that, you know, the words were very simple and small. The sentences were very short. So that took some getting used to. You know, but by the time I was in the middle of the book, I was so engrossed in the story itself that I kind of forgot about all of that. So I really enjoyed this story. I thought that the character development was phenomenal, especially, you know, for Marin herself as the main character from beginning to end. There are two more books in the series. They don't follow the same characters. They follow different characters in different time periods. So I'm eager to really continue on with this series. I'm so happy that I found this German author. But yes, just know that it's a romance going in. So I wound up giving this book 4 stars, mainly on enjoyment of it and how much I saw the main character grow. And I really recommend this book if you like romance and if you don't mind the triangle for a while, but you really want to see, you know, growth of a character and also some elements of island life, then I do recommend this book. The next book that I want to talk about that I recently finished and I talked about in last week's Friday Reads is Catherine of Aragon by Alison Weir. I loved this. I mean, Alison Weir can do no wrong in my eyes. Her writing is just so, it just flows so nicely. Her writing, you could read 50 pages of this, and it seems, the print is pretty small in my opinion, and it looks kind of dense, but I can get through 50 pages in like a half hour to an hour. It just is that good. And this follows obviously Catherine of Aragon. If you're unfamiliar, Catherine of Aragon was Henry VIII's first wife, and it really talks about her troubles. Catherine of Aragon was a princess of Spain and was brought over actually to marry Henry's older brother, Arthur. She came to a new country not knowing the language, not knowing the customs, very scared, separated from her family. Arthur, if you're familiar with the history, Arthur unfortunately died shortly after Catherine arrived from consumption, which, is TB. And she wound up marrying, she did marry Arthur, but he died shortly thereafter. And then she wound up marrying Henry. It was a true love story in the beginning, but Henry, as he, gained more power and grew more hungry for power and authority and kingship, basically, he grew more, he sort of turned into a different person. And then when Anne Boleyn came along, we all know what happened. Catherine really had a really tough life. She suffered a lot, and you really felt for her in this book. A lot of this book, even though this is historical fiction, you can read Alison Weir's note in the back, and she says, that a lot of this book is fact, and then she goes on to explain where she took some liberties and what, is more fictionalized. So this is a great read where you can learn a lot of facts and see, and it's easier than maybe nonfiction. I read The Lady in the Tower, which is a nonfiction book on Anne Boleyn, so I had a little bit of backstory on Anne Boleyn. But yes, this is a new series that Alison Weir is writing. So she's writing one book on each of the 6 queens, 6 wives of Henry. So this book is out. I am eager to get the second one, which is also out, which is Anne Boleyn. And the third one, Jane Seymour, which was his third wife, is coming out in May. So I just think this is a wonderful historical fiction. If you're interested in, Tudor times, if you're interested in Henry VIII, or just, medieval life in England, or even medieval times to an extent, I think that this book will be right up your alley. I fully enjoyed it. I just, this really cemented Catherine of Aragon as my favorite of the wives. He was married to her for the longest. He was married to her for like 20 years, 20 something years. So I highly, highly recommend this. I think, you can also learn a lot about history, a lot about that whole time period where there was a real shift between from Christianity, or not Catholicism, I should say, Catholicism, and the country separating from the Pope and moving to Anglican, or is it called, or Protestant? I'm not familiar with all the religions, but really separating from the Pope and, holding himself as the head of the church, basically. So, I mean, that whole thing really caused the country to shift. And yeah, it was really, really amazing to see all of that, and to see all of the political intrigues and all of the political discussions behind the scenes. Yeah, amazing, amazing book. And I gave this 5 stars. So that is it. Those are my my thoughts on two of the historical fiction books that I read recently. I hope you enjoyed. If you've read either of these, let me know. I would love to talk to you about it. And yeah, that is all I have for you today. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you very, very soon.